Hi guys, and welcome back to another Tech Minds video. So here we have another antenna to build and test. Now, I've had this in the garage in its box for a few months now, and with the recent arrival of my Icom IC9700, I thought it would be a good time to put this antenna to the test, especially as the past few weeks have not been that great on HF. Now this is an InnovAntennas 2-meter monoband LFA Yagi. Now, LFA stands for Loop Fed Array, and in theory this loop helps reduce reception of man-made noise in the local area to the antenna. It also offers improved pattern control along with a broader usable bandwidth and a better impedance match. Now, I got this antenna from Wimo, a famously known ham radio dealer in Germany, but as they ship worldwide, they are known worldwide too. Now, on the website for this product, you can choose from 5 different versions, ranging from 7 elements right up to 14 elements. The 14 element antenna is 9 meters long. That's the boom length. So I went for the 9 element, which is around 4.5 meters. I do have to give credit to Justin at G0KSC as he designed this antenna. And when I recently reached out to him to discuss the antenna, it was mentioned that I would need the use of a Balun, and it's quite essential if you're going to be using high power. Now, this antenna is actually rated up to 3 kilowatts, but of course I'll only use it up to 100 watts. Now, I still wanted the Balun, so Justin very kindly made this for me, which I'll show you later in the video where I installed it. It might seem that there's quite a lot of parts here, and everything is packaged nicely. All of the parts to build the antenna are included here, apart from the mast of course. The main boom is super strong and made from sturdy aluminium in the form of a box section or square alloy tube boom, whatever you want to call it. The elements are also made from aluminium, this time being round tubes. Now, the first thing to do is put the 3 boom parts together. They're held in by these securing plates which fit either side of the join. Now, you have a bolt which simply goes through a pre-drilled, pre-threaded hole in the boom, and there's 4 bolts per plate, so 8 in total per join. Now, you do get a manual with the antenna, but as for the elements, the longest always goes at the back of the antenna, which is the reflector, and the smallest, well, that goes right at the end, the front end of the boom. Now, I just laid them out like this so I knew which one was which. Now, once I laid out all of the elements, including the driven element, into their relevant places on the boom, I started to build the mounting bracket for the driven element, which, as mentioned earlier, is an LFA, a loop. Now, this is how it fits together, and those 2 nuts and bolts that are sat in between those green element holders is where we're going to attach our feeder coax later. Now, the ends of the loop are held into place via some hose clamps. To start with, I push these tuning loops fully in and then just tighten those hose clamps. When I test the SWR later, and depending on where the lowest dip will be, I may have to adjust these by pulling them in or out. Of course, you have to loosen those hose clamps first and then retighten them once you've moved the end of the elements. Now, all of the elements are held onto the boom using these green blocks. 2 bolts in each block make sure that it's fixed securely to the boom and that each element is tightly fixed into place. The last thing we want is the elements to slip or slide out of their holders. Now, you will notice that one of the blocks is made from metal, and this essentially grounds that part of the loop to the boom. Now, all of the holes on the boom are already pre-drilled and pre-tapped, so all you need to do is screw the bolts into the holes on the boom. And that's it. All of the elements are in the correct positions and securely attached to the main boom. This thing looks a lot bigger when it's on the ground, that's for sure. Before installing this Yagi onto a mast, I need to attach the coax and the Balun that I showed you earlier. And well, this is where I attach the Balun, which has an N-type socket for attaching the coax, and then the other end there's 2 ring terminals which attach to those 2 bolts I showed you earlier in the middle of that LFA. Now, I'm using some cable ties here just to hold that Balun into place and not risk having the Balun move about when I turn the antenna and the coax starts pulling on it, although it should be fairly secure anyway. If you're interested to know what coax I'm using, well, it's called Formula 0. I got it from Moonraker here in the UK. Now, I'm pretty sure this is equivalent to Westflex 103, but all I know is that it's extremely low loss and it works great with VHF and above. Now, after waiting a couple of weeks, I finally got it up in the air on my temporary mast area. It's not particularly high up, maybe 5 to 6 meters from the ground, but it should work as I have quite a clear takeoff to the north from here, with no buildings nearby. Now, I'm using the Yaesu rotator, which is remotely controlled via a Wi-Fi control box. Now, I did feature that in a video quite recently if you're interested to see how the remote Wi-Fi control box works. It just connects to your local network, and then you have a web browser where you can literally click and point and the antenna will move. Now, the rotator I've used here has absolutely no issues in turning the antenna, even though you can see a little wobble as it starts and stops. Now, I think that movement is because I'm using aluminium poles to mount the antenna, which shall then attach to a steel pole, which is concreted into the ground. Now, that steel pole does not move even when turning. It's very solidly concreted into the ground. Before connecting it to my SDR, I wanted to check the SWR, now that it's up in the air. And here is the plot. For the portion of the band that I want to use, I do not think it's too bad. I most certainly will not be taking it up and down again, but I guess I could have performed some fine tuning. But for now, it will actually be okay. Now, the first test I wanted to perform was connecting an SDR receiver to this LFA Yagi. So I used an NRSP from SDR Play. Now, this can run over the network, and as I already had an Ethernet connection in the conservatory, I placed it in there, just to keep my cable run shorter too. Now, what I wanted to see was if I could hear any of the VHF beacons that are around the UK. So firstly, I swung the Yagi southeast to see if I could hear and receive a GB3 VHF. And yep, I could. And it was also fairly strong. Considering this is directly blocked by lots of hills, it was actually performing quite well. Now, I did try to receive some of the others in the UK and beyond, but the only one I could hear was actually GB3 NGI, which is in Northern Ireland, on 144.482 MHz. Now, this comes through quite clearly, and it's actually quite a distance away, so it's quite impressive that it works like this. In fact, I tried to listen to the same beacon on the same frequency using my normal vertical antenna that I have way above the roof of the house, and I couldn't hear it at all, so the Yagi's definitely working. Now, with the SDR testing done, it was now time to set up the Icom IC97 in the conservatory. The IC9700 has an inbuilt LAN server, meaning I can connect to it and control the 9700 from the comfort of my shack using the Icom Remote software. As the rotator control box is connected to my home Wi-Fi, I can also control where the antenna points using a simple web interface. After turning on, I heard a local QSO on FM. Now, these guys were most likely using a vertical antenna, and they were quite close. So I dropped down to 144.300, changed to upper sideband, and then I made some CQ calls. Golf 0 Echo Oscar Yankee. This is Mike 0 Delta Quebec Whiskey. Are you still hearing me? Over. G4IOQ, G4IOQ, M0 DQW. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, if you find a free frequency and then come back to me, and then we can QSY. Over.
Yeah, okay. Can we go 30 up, 30 kcs up to 330? Is that okay?
Yes. QSY.
DQW, G4IOQ, yeah?
Yeah, G4IOQ, M0 DQW. Very good afternoon. The name here is Matt, Mike Alpha Tango. How copy? Over.
Yeah, okay, Matt. No problems at all. About 5 and 5 currently. I'm not sure if you're beaming my way or what. But anyway, nice to hear you. You're perfectly readable, so I don't think it'll be any problem. A nice, lovely sunny day. Conditions not all that great. The Kent beacon's not particularly strong. It's only about S3, something like that. Very much stronger, but there we are. Temperature, pressure's getting up. We've got 1,028 millibars here, so it has risen since the wet rain we had on Saturday. So there we are. Right about 300 watts, Matt.
Okay, so that's not bad at all. Definitely something I could not do with a vertical antenna, unless of course there was some mad propagation. Now, talking of propagation and the warbly sounding audio there, I suspect this was due to propagation, more specifically multipath or Doppler. Now, I'm not a veteran when it comes to VHF SSB, so if you are, let me know down in the comments if you experienced this warbly sound before when receiving. Now, incidentally, I am using a Leo Bodner GPSDO with the injection board so that the 9700 reference clock is GPS locked. Now, a few days later from this, I saw that the Hepburn map showed a little tropo, so I switched to using a digital mode called FT8. Now, I made a few CQ calls, turned the antenna every few degrees just to see who I could contact. Now, I did manage a contact into the Netherlands on FT8 and a few around the country, but while I did not make a load of contacts, my signal was heard quite far and wide. Using the PSK Reporter website, I could see a rough plot of where the signal was reaching, and I think I was using around 30 watts from my 9700 for this FT8 test. Now, for more information on this 2-meter monoband LFA Yagi, like radiation plots and gain figures, then check out the link in the description, which will take you to the product page. Now, this is only the second 2-meter Yagi that I've ever used, and well, if it works this well, then I wonder how well that 14-element version works. Definitely too big for my garden though, that's for sure. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and until next one, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next video.